All right, guys, welcome back. This is Power Times, and we got here today my uncle, my very good uncle, Jason Chamakese. Here we got
Hello, Pense.
Hey, what's up, man? It's good to have you on here. We have a lot of people coming online right now,
Yeah, thank you for
and
having me.
just want to say, thank you for taking some time off your day. But let everyone know who you are. If they don't know who you are, introduce them to yourself to our community here on Powwow Times.
Hey, how's it going, everybody? My name is Jason Chamakese. Jason Chamakese in Seka Sun. I'm from the Pelican Lake First Nation. Tsatigil Sagay in Seka Deo. I have been playing flute for 22 years, recording artist, and recently I had a chance to act as a panelist and also a translator on Hometown Hockey in Cree. And I'm really, really looking forward to more episodes of that.
mm,
Yeah,
That's so awesome, man. Just seeing how they're bringing in these unique ways to revitalize our language. Hey, so
absolutely.
how did you get from like last time I seen you, you were doing some public speaking in communities, and then next thing I see you on TV, what is the behind the scenes story of that?
It's actually pretty funny. Uh, kind of like right now, there's a hockey game on, and Edmonton Oilers are playing. So I would sit there with my mom and my dad, and I would watch the game with them. And we're Oilers fans, and I would grab my phone and I would jump on Facebook, and I would make updates and status updates talking about my analysis on my take on the game itself. And I just mostly joking around. Like, I knew the game. I've never played organized hockey in my life. I've never put on equipment or anything like that. I can skate. Some people say I can't, but I can. But I've never played in my life. And here I was acting like I really knew about uh, statistics and analysis of the game. And then I was just messing around. And then in February, I get this phone call from a guy named Doug Howe, who's the producer of Cree. And then he asks if I spoke Cree and if I was comfortable in a studio, if I've ever been in a studio before. I said, "Oh yeah, I've done this a couple times before." And he asks also if I spoke Cree. I said, "Yeah, I speak Cree." And then he presents this opportunity to me that they're going to be doing hometown hockey, and he asked me if I wanted to be part of it, and I said, "Absolutely." And the rest is history.
That's so awesome, man. Like
Yeah.
most don't know, or a lot of people do know. You're also a famous flute player, right? And you've been all over the world playing flute, and now you're doing this Cree. Um, what is your story? I know you tell it a lot when you're in communities. If you want to share a little bit about that, you don't have to go like the long story, but maybe
Yeah.
the 10,
Well,
10-minute version.
I've had I've led a really charmed life. I'll put it this way. I've been so fortunate. I started playing 22 years ago. Taught myself how to play, and back in 2007, I just decided to go for it and make a career out of it. And I've recorded 3 albums. I've got 2011, I believe, I won a Canadian Aboriginal Music Award for Best Flute CD.
oh, nice.
And it took me to a lot of places. I got to play at the Vancouver 2010 Olympics. In 2013, I was invited to the Scottish International Storytelling Festival.
Yeah.
And I got to travel pretty much all over. I've seen every province in Canada except for the Atlantic provinces because of my music, playing at numerous conferences, schools, galas, a lot of different places. And then in 2015, I had a massive stroke, and I was in the hospital for 5 months, and I was thrown on life support, and I had a 30% chance of survival. My weight dropped to 98 pounds, and I almost did leave, but that wasn't in the cards, and
Hmm.
I I regained all my mobility back, my the ability to drive, and I kept the ability to play flute.
Mhm.
Thankful for that. And this literally is my second life. I was given a second shot, and not many people can say that.
Mhm.
Hmm.
That I can still do this, that I can still play flute, that I can travel around and make a living out of it. And not only that, this opportunity that I have as a panelist for literally history. It's a history making broadcast that we did in March 24th. So, and
Hmm.
that's gonna keep on. So, as I said
Yeah,
before, I lead a really charmed life. I'm especially blessed, and
yeah, I can.
I think that's a testament to how strong our prayers are and our culture is.
Mhm.
I'm an
I
example
can.
of that. Yeah.
I can speak for everyone and myself as well. Your nephew. We're really thankful that you're still here in this world, and it's
Yeah.
really been an honor to get to know you. I didn't really know you growing up. A lot of you don't know this, but me and Jason's actually my uncle.
Yeah, he's like in Cree kinship, he would be in Tusim, we call it. His late father is my first cousin, my dad's brother's son. So his late father is like my own brother.
Hmm.
Chiwam, I'd call him. So this guy, I'm very closely related to him. And he's like my son. That's I'll put it
Hmm.
that way. Yeah, in
It's gonna
Tusim.
see the it's gonna see the resemblance here. Just kidding.
Well, you're a good-looking guy, I guess so.
Yeah.
How did you learn the flute? Was it something that just came to you, or did you have a mentor, or how did that go?
I didn't have a mentor when I first started out. As a matter of fact, I was hanging out at this place I used to live in 20 some years ago. Over 20 some years ago, I had a roommate. His name's the late Jason Goodstriker. I was at
Mhm.
at the place that we lived in. He had a box of these cassette tapes, and I got Snoopy one night, and I was listening to some of his recordings, and then he brought me another recording the next day of a flute player named Kevin Locke, and that's where things changed when I heard his music, because not only was he playing flute, but he was singing them, and there was a tradition behind flute playing. Where I come from, in our area, we don't have flute makers or flute players. As far as I know, we don't have this in our tradition. So I I did some research, and I learned that it came from somewhere else. And from there, I wanted to learn how to play. I got my first
Mm.
flute in '98 from Bismarck, I believe, the Powell there. And I bartered for that flute. I had to trade some CDs and about 60 bucks. I literally starved that month because I was a struggling student, but it turned out to be a great investment. And I just taught myself how to play. There was no such thing back then as YouTube or the internet.
Yeah.
Well, there was the internet, but you couldn't really access too many sites and learn. But I learned how to play by myself. My first teacher was actually a CD player, and I sat there and listened to recordings. And then eventually, I did get to meet Kevin Locke a couple of years later, and he's acted as my mentor, and I've taken him as a brother. So he's one of the best flute players out there.
Nice. Are you at a place where you could just kind of play by ear now? Like you hear something, you can play that melody?
No, it takes practice. I can't just listen to anything right away and just pick it up just like that. Sometimes I can, sometimes I can't. But like anything that you want to get good at, it takes lots of practice.
Hmm.
Hmm.
Yeah.
So, how does working with HPATN is what's the process with that? Do they fly you out, or where's the office even? Where do you go?
Actually, we go to the APTN studios in Winnipeg. And what
Mm.
they do is we have the studio there, and the games are streamed, are brought in, and we watch them on big screens. And then off to the side, there's two big TV screens that in the desk, and Clarence Iron sits at those, and he watches the game, and he calls the game from the studio itself. I
Hmm.
can't wait until the day where they actually fly us to the actual games. That'd be great.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, but no complaints though. No complaints. They treat us good. They put us up in hotels, and they fly us out, and they take care of us. So no
So,
complaints for that.
what's the schedule like for that? Are you guys like twice a month, three times a month, every game, or how's that work?
As far as I know, starting Sunday night, it's going to be every 2 weeks until March 29th. Every
Every
two
two
weeks.
weeks.
So I think
Nice.
there's about 5 more games left to do.
So for those of you just tuning in who don't know what we're talking about, Jason here is one of the Cree broadcasters for NHL, in APTN, and he's doing it. What was it? Twice a week, you said?
Twice a week. Yeah, I do
So
have a
you
s-
could.
I do have a schedule written down on the calendar, but I can't really see it from here. It's way the hell across the house.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And did you always know Cree? Like, was it something you grew up with and your parents taught you, or how did you learn Cree?
Absolutely, it's my first language. It is my first language. All my brothers and sisters grew up. We all grew up speaking Cree to one another, and my mom and my dad they never graduated from high school or anything like that, and thankfully they never went to residential school. My
Mhm.
mom tells me that her late mom used to take her kids, her siblings, and she would hide them so they didn't get taken away.
Oh,
My
yeah.
own community was surrounded by muskegs, so there wasn't uh, too many people coming onto the reserve, and thankfully they didn't. Otherwise, they would have taken a lot of the youth and taken off to residential school. And I've seen the damage that it has done in some communities. I recall being in southern Saskatchewan and seeing a row of older people in the back, and I talked to them in Cree,
Hmm.
and they didn't understand. Just maybe a couple of them understood me, and I thought, man, did this ever do a number on them?
Hmm.
But for us, we were fortunate. We were lucky. We didn't have that kind of negative influence in our home. So I grew up with the language, and I grew up with the culture, being immersed in it, and that's made all the difference. It really
Yeah,
has.
for sure.
Yeah.
Tell me a little bit about your experience, kind of growing up on the reserve when you were young. How did that look like for you? I'm always curious about people's stories, and seeing how it was.
Well, it was to me. It was normal, right? Most people would think about, oh, you grew up really poor. You grew up lacking this. You grew up lacking that. It's true in a lot of senses. I didn't have the best toys. I didn't have the best clothes. We weren't a wealthy family by any stretch of the imagination. I recall that we had to live off social assistance, but I don't take any of that back. Some of the lessons that my parents taught me were hard, but they taught me respect, not to be mouthy, not to be lippy to anybody, especially older people. And I wouldn't take any of it back. I mean, we grew up not having a lot, but we had creativity and imagination. Me and my
Hmm.
brother would spend hours playing outside, just coming up with different games that we could play, and just as long as we had our imagination, we were fine. We didn't need all these toys or video games or anything like that.
Kids
That's
these
how it
days and
was.
their technology and
Yeah,
their webcams and stuff. It's kidding.
yeah. Says me with my iPhone X.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Thank God we have more technology nowadays. Stay connected. It's,
yeah, absolutely.
So let's go back to that time where you almost lost your life. Can you tell us a little bit about that story? The kind of before it happened, during, and a little bit after.
Well, prior to that, I was busy. I was traveling lots, and I wasn't really getting proper rest. I had high blood pressure, but I didn't know it was that bad. And then what I used to do is I used to lift weights, and I would come upstairs and I would mix this drink called creatine I would get from Walmart. And I never consulted a doctor or anything. I just went ahead and did it.
Hmm.
In hindsight, I should have, but uh, I was busy for a while, busy for the weeks leading up to the stroke, and then I went and did that performance at the Roxy Theater with my brother Robert Gladue, and we performed. And I honestly don't remember that any of that performance. The only evidence I have was video that people took of it and posting it on Facebook. I don't remember it. I don't remember the drive back to my sister's place. I don't even remember deciding that I wasn't going to go back to Chittick that night. And I'm so thankful that I didn't, because if I did try to go home that night, 2 hours north, I wouldn't be here today. That
Hmm.
night, I remember being really, really sick and collapsing a couple of times, and just the next morning, one of my sisters, rushed me to RUH, and then from there, things got worse, and they had to throw me into life support, and I was in ICU, and I had a couple surgeries, and it was really, really bleak. It was really, really bleak. I lost the ability to even feed myself. I had to wear a pamper at one point too.
Mm-hmm.
That's how severe it was for me. My mobility was. Thankfully, I recovered because I had family members and friends who prayed for me, who went to ceremonies. Especially one of my brothers. He traveled all that summer to ceremonies, taking prayer cloth for me, and I had a bunch of people asking for prayers for me, and it worked. I had people in Sunday, actually powwows were blowing whistles for my health. So it
Mm-hmm.
really, really changed my outlook on powwow, and it's positivity that
Mm-hmm.
good things can be. And I looked at it differently before. I just thought it was a big show. It was all about money. But now I see it differently. That there is a
Mm-hmm.
spirituality to it, and I'll
Mm-hmm.
acknowledge that. But it really did change my outlook on life. It taught me to appreciate little simple things like being able to walk or being able to cook breakfast. So, and being able
Mm-hmm.
just to take care of yourself, where I couldn't do that
Mm-hmm.
before. When I left the hospital, when I came back home, I couldn't. So I had to go back on social assistance, and I thought, well, that's. I don't really think that's what my life is meant. I don't think I'm meant for that. So I persevered and I kept at it, and I tried to. Uh, I would say dig myself out of that hole, but I tried to improve my situation, and sure enough, it's happening.
Mm-hmm.
And I think now, like I said, I look at life completely differently. I
Mm-hmm.
I pray every day, night and morning and night. There's not a day that goes by where I don't say thank you to Creator, to Mamo Tawima,
Mm-hmm.
Higiakastamo Matsun for extending my life for me. I'm
Mm-hmm.
thankful for that. And I still get to go out and do this what I love doing. And I'm sure you feel the same way, Patrick
Mm-hmm.
and Jared, that you guys get to
Mm-hmm.
do what you love doing, and you you make a living off of it. You're able to do that. It doesn't even feel like work.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it doesn't feel like work to me when I go out and perform at a wherever, at a school or at a function, or if I'm going to APTN and doing this. I love doing what I do.
It's always beautiful to, wake up and you're doing your passions every day, things like that.
Absolutely.
It's a
Mm-hmm.
blessing. So you were
Definitely.
just saying, like, before that your health scare there, you didn't kind of know about that day. It was like a blur to you.
What's that?
Like your day was
You were.
a blur to you before that happened.
Yeah, it was. It really
Yeah.
was. I don't really remember driving into Saskatoon. I remember walking into the Roxy Theater and thinking, wow, this is different. And I was taking pictures of it and posting it on my Instagram. And then after that, it's just like a blank. It's like the best way that I can describe the last several years is that a lot of pages have been torn out of my memory, out of the book of my memory.
Mm-hmm.
There's whole chapters that are missing, especially my recovery in the hospital. There's lots that I don't remember, just little bits and pieces. But for the most part, I don't remember it, and I'm glad that I don't. I don't want to. I asked my
Mm-hmm.
mom about that, and she says I don't want to talk about it. And she says in Cree, and I can understand because it was a hard time for not just my mom and my dad, but for me as well, and for people that you know that actually followed my music and followed what I do. I'm not trying to
Mm-hmm.
say that I'm somebody, but I'm thankful that I pulled through.
For sure.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It really puts perspective on me as well as a young
Oh,
native
you're
man.
cutting out there.
I said it really puts a perspective on me as well as a young
Yep.
native man because I find myself often being kind of unthankful for what I have in my life, right? And so I'm just still learning. I'm only 26 years old, but you telling that story kind of hits me in a special place in my heart because I've been kind of going through stuff myself as well,
Yeah.
and so thank you for that. It's a really awesome story.
Yeah. Well, if any lesson can be taken from that, it's like I would think it's hard times don't last forever.
Mm-hmm.
Hard times don't last forever. They put us through the test. The way that I see it is uh, a trial by fire, right?
Mm-hmm.
Back in ancient days, to make their swords stronger, they tempered them by heating them up. They made them stronger by putting them through fire.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And in a sense, that's how I see myself and what I've gone through. I was put through the fire, and I didn't get scorched.
For
Instead, it made
sure.
me stronger in a sense. That's how I see it. Yeah.
It's a
Mhm.
good way of thinking. I forgot what to say, but can you give some advice for, because you're an artist, a language keeper now, knowledge keeper, on how does an artist kind of put themselves out there, and just because you've been in that space, right, where you've created some pretty good success, where where artists looking for someone, you're a good role model when it comes to being an artist. And then I have another question after that about language. So first, let's answer the artist question.
Okay, you're gonna have to repeat that because you were cutting out really
Oh,
bad.
they cut it
So I
out.
didn't
Okay.
really. It was like robotic and blah 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 blah. Blah. It was on and off. So
Joe, can you ask that? Advice as an artist.
Oh yeah. Would you be able to tell us a little bit of voice as an artist? Like, say me coming up, I want to present and go do some presenting at schools and stuff. What is some advice to get out there
well,
more? And
it wouldn't be much different from what you'd hear from other artists. Number one is believe in yourself. Keep at it. Sometimes the life of an artist is hard. It's either feast or famine, and I can tell you straight out that I've struggled more times than I've had success. I've
Mm-hmm.
worried about and still worry about how I'm going to pay for my truck, how I'm going to pay for bills. But sometimes, you know, things will happen at the last minute, and I'll be able to score a gig, and that's how I see it. It's things happen, uh, and they really test us. There's times when I wanted to quit, where I wanted to say, "The hell with this! I'm gonna find a job, and
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna try and make a steady income." But I love what I'm doing. I mean, you have to love what you're doing to succeed at it. That's how I see things as an artist. You have to love what you're doing and not quit, because there is light at the end of the tunnel. I'll put it that way, to steal a metaphor there. But you just got to keep at it and not quit.
Mm-hmm. And how about advice for someone wanting to learning their language? Am I cutting out, Joe?
yeah, you are kind of.
Yeah, you are cutting up, but I did catch that. But I'll share something with you that my mom told me a long time ago. I used to make the mistake of in my presentations saying our language is dying. I used to say
Mm-hmm.
that, and my mom told me, "Why do you say that? Don't say that." And she said in Cree, "Mui kats kohtau in oga gi migo no gi gui mi asik taps kuts kapik squil no. Tani kuts agapu in a maguia, mui mas kuts sik tagis spike. Ka kiwi no ikinihtaw to pik squil. Iktami kwata stick tipiak pokmos waspawihtain. Kawaspawihtain ki pik squil. Ka kiwi no ikinihtaw. And what that translates to is, why do you say that? Why would our Creator give us something as beautiful as our languages only to take it back? Our language will never die because it has a spirit. Every
Mhm.
human being, every indigenous person is born with their language, and that language sits dormant inside every one of us. And it's up to
Mm-hmm.
us to surround ourselves in an environment where our language will be woken up.
Yeah.
And it's in all of us, all of every single indigenous person out there: Crees, Blackfeet, Dakotas, Ojibways, Denes, everybody is born with their language, so it's there.
I do believe that as well because I went to the northern communities in Alberta here, in
Yeah,
Fox Lake,
yeah,
and when I was there, I definitely felt a sense of the Cree spirit there. Especially there's like little 4-year-olds, 3-year-olds talking to
isn't
their
that
mushum about 70 years old, 80 years old, just talking fluent Cree to each other. I was so amazed. It's
that
so
that
crazy.
is to me? I think that is the most beautiful sound in the world.
Yeah.
I experienced that up in Grand Prairie, maybe about I can't even say how many years ago. I went to an event after went to a school. I went to an event in the city there, and there was a bunch of people there, and we were all eating. And then I finished performing and playing, and as I was mentioned, yeah, I speak Cree. I'm a Cree speaker. And then this little girl came up to me afterwards, and she pulled on my shirt, and she had a camera. And I just presumed. I said, "Hey, how's it going?" You know. And then she looked at me and she goes, "Minan totsiga which mustn't paint then." And I just like, whoa. And what that means is it okay if I get my picture taken with you? I said, "Tapo tansi si kaso, you know. So what's your name?" She goes, "Echo." And I said, "How old are you?" And she goes, "I know." That's 8. And I was just really, really impressed by that. So I took a picture with her, and I asked her, "Tanui ka kinigi ko?" That means, "Where's your parents?" "Ngiti." She goes, "They're over there." And I said, "Igomaga, let's go see them then." So we went to see them. And then I was talking to her, this little girl's parents. And I was just really bragging her up to the parents. And I said where I come from. And I was talking Cree to them. Itigo itoktian mwimste hawasag maui agawasag nihtani hiog maga oas kitan soga pihtogo inani hiog poitakahito gimpoimiuhto. And I was talking to this little girl to her talking about this little girl to her parents. And I said where I come from, very hardly, actually, no little kids can speak Cree. To hear this little girl speaking Cree, talking to me in complete sentences, making absolute sense. It's the most beautiful sound I've ever heard. And her brother was sitting at the table eating his ice cream, and he was an older boy. There must have been sibling rivalry. He must have overheard me really bragging up his little sister, and he kind of mumbles into his ice cream, "Nista magami nista ni hioan." And that means well, I can speak Cree too. That's what he said. Yeah, so I thought that was pretty cool.
What a beautiful story, man. I remember when I went up to Nunavut, same thing, all those little kids are speaking their language way up there, I think
Yeah,
because when they get blocked from the influence of, what happened in Canada, just the language is a
yeah,
little bit more stronger, right?
yeah. I really think that too. I mean, this reserve up until this the few decades ago was isolated. They used to call us bush Indians up here because we didn't have too much outside influence. But now we slowly see that more and more. We have Wi-Fi, we have satellite TV, and we're better roads, and we're able to go out more into the outside communities like the cities and stuff. So we do have that influence. And one of the indicators that I know that is that explains our language being on the decline is the lack of our accents.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, when I was growing up, people used to make fun of us because we had stronger Cree accents, but now not so much anymore. It's kind of lessened, and I think that's indicative of the fact that people usually rely more on English than they do Cree. But I want to see it come back, and it will come back. It will make a resurgence, and I hope that I'm part of that, where we see people being more proud of their language, and I saw that for myself when we did that first ever broadcast on March 24th of 2019. I went back to my hotel room, and I got on Facebook, and I was reading my news feed, and
Nice.
so many people were talking about the game and how proud they were. This makes me want to learn. I want to learn. I want to talk with my mom and my dad. And
Hmm.
it really felt, I felt it right here, right in the feels, man. Like, like I thought, wow, I was part of that. I hope that I can do continue this. That I hope that I can help people to try and learn this language, or their languages for that matter, not just Cree.
Mm-hmm.
So, with all the analysts on at APTN, is there a difference between their Cree and your Cree? And is there like different skill level between you guys?
That's a good question. Clarence Iron, he's from Canoe Lake. His Cree is pretty wicked,
Hmm.
and he's fast, and he just thinks on his toes. And you have to be a play-by-play guy. I could never do what he does. Earl
Mm-hmm.
Wood, he's a POW announcer, so he brings
Mm-hmm.
a different energy and a vitality to his hosting job.
Hmm.
Myself, I'm more the straight guy. I'm just the more serious guy. I remember the first broadcast we did. The producer came in. He goes, "Jason, you know what? It's okay to smile. It's okay to bring a little of your personality into this." And I tried, but still, I still, I think maybe took it a little too seriously,
Yeah. It's
because
awesome.
it is a lot of pressure. It is a lot of pressure
For sure.
not to mess up, not to mistranslate. And I know that I've done that time and time again, or I haven't said exactly what the analyst said in English into Cree, because it's hard. It
Hmm.
is really, it's not as easy as it looks. You have to
Mm-hmm.
try hard not to mess up. I remember the second show that we did was on January 19th. We were going through the script. We were given a script, and it's kind of a rundown of the show. So at the very start of the show, the producer had come in and told us, "Yeah, we're going to just go through this script and we're going to do it as it says." And one of the things that we had to talk about was the standings. So very quickly, John Shabbat, my co-anchor or whatever, the analyst, was telling me different numbers and what he was going to say. And then we have these earpieces that we wear.
Hmm.
Mm-hmm.
And just before the show, just before the actual live broadcast, the producer says in our earpieces, "I don't think we'll have enough time to do the standings. We're just going to skip that part." I was like, "Good, that eases so much pressure off of me. I can do the easy part and do the player profiles." And then the actual show started. And then my earpiece was quiet, but in John's earpiece, the producer had told him, "Just go ahead and do the standings." So I didn't
Uh-huh.
catch that. I didn't hear none of it. All of a sudden, the show starts, and then the the graphics come up, and it has the standings, and he starts talking about the standings, and I froze up. I did freeze up, and I thought to myself, "Man, you got to say something." So I don't even remember what I said. I blurted something out just to kill that time.
Yeah.
But there's always hiccups. There's always going to be hiccups, and I think what I did was I did what I could. And if anything, if what that does for me is it makes me look at this as a real opportunity, not to let it slip by. So what I have to do is start to really know these standings backwards and
Mm-hmm.
forwards, and to try relate those standings into Cree. So I've been practicing that here at home, telling my mom and my dad, and going over the rules of hockey. My mom will ask, "Well, how come they pulled? How come that goalie's not there?"
Yeah.
So I have to explain in Cree. Well, they have a penalty, so the puck will, so the play will freeze when that team who has the penalty touches the puck. In the meantime, they can take their goalie out. And they can bring another guy to come and play in the place of that goalie. So I have to say that in Cree, and it can be easy, but sometimes it can be tough.
Yeah, that's what I was wondering about, like words like hooked or crease or penalty box. Like I don't know if we have Cree words for them, but what kind of how do you guys find those words that are not too common that I don't really hear anyway in Cree?
Yeah. Well, some of these words you have to invent. I mean, that's the cool thing about Cree is that a lot of our vocabulary is newer.
Mm-hmm.
Is newer. So you have to come up with words that for things that didn't exist back then, like what you're talking about, the penalty box.
Mm-hmm.
It can be said a number of ways. It's like the little jail,
Yeah.
where the ones who got into trouble go and sit. There's a lot of different ways, and I know that APTN has a page where you can look at different terms
Mm-hmm.
and translations, but much of the time, we won't use those terms. We'll say actual different words, and that's in no way is that meant to try and confuse anybody or to flip things upside down for anybody. Or that's not our intention. We do say different things because our language is adaptive and it's not static. It changes, so we can have different ways of saying different
Mm-hmm.
things. Like tripping is pretty simple, straightforward.
Mm-hmm.
It means tripping. Yeah.
Nice.
Slashing, I would say yuchigahat. It's like literally like chopping with an axe.
Oh, yeah.
You chopped at them, right?
Nice. That's
Yeah.
cool. You just got to be really creative with it, eh? So that's really cool.
And that's one of the cool things about the play-by-play guy at Clarence. I remember sitting in the studio with Earl Wood, and we were listening to Clarence. And every now and again, we'd look at each other and we'd laugh. It wasn't because we were laughing at him, but it was just the creativity that went into some of his words and the way he was calling the game. So I looked at Clarence and I said to him in Cree, I looked at Earl and I said, Earl, what do you think?
Yeah.
Did you ever think you would actually see this? He goes, no.
Mm-hmm.
I said, this is really good, eh? He goes, yeah, it is.
Yeah, I love seeing it, and I'm so happy that we're seeing it now, like on a national level. So it's so awesome.
Yeah.
I see you're wearing a Oilers hat. Is that your team?
I am. That is my team. My team.
My team.
My team. Yeah. Yeah. I write that on. That's become my hashtag too. My team. And I've got to see them play live a couple times. Actually, they're playing right now, and I can't really see what the score is, but hopefully they'll win.
Yeah.
I plan on seeing them again next month. Are you going to go to Think Indigenous as well?
Yeah, I'll be there.
Yeah, same here. On the 12th, I'm going to be doing my workshop there and performing at the dinner hour. So
yeah.
What
did you think about the Battle of Alberta team scrap?
Holy, that was exciting. Holy, me and my dad were sitting there, and actually, I don't even think my dad was there. No, he wasn't. I was sitting there and I was yelling at the TV. I was yelling, especially when Bear fought and his hair just flopping around. That was deadly. Yeah, but I think it's pretty cool that the Pacific Division is so close in points. So and it's so unpredictable who's going to go on a winning streak or who's going to go on a losing streak, how the standings will be, who will make the playoffs. So it's definitely going to be really, really interesting. Yeah.
So when are you going to be doing APTN again? When are you going?
Flying out on Saturday in 2 days.
2 days?
Yeah, on the 8th, flying out to Winnipeg. We're doing a broadcast on the 8th. Hold on here. Let me take a walk. No, I could have done this a long time ago. Okay, we're doing a broadcast on February 9th. Then another one on the 23rd February. And then we are doing a broadcast on March 1st, a broadcast on March 15th, and another broadcast on March 29th.
Nice, man.
Save dates, everyone.
Yeah, so we get to do 5 more broadcasts.
Hey, I was gonna ask, how is APTN like? How's the studio? Is it like really professional and stuff, and real high grade equipment? And what's it like?
Well, I'm not really a techie guy, but it does. I think it's just like uh, pretty high tech from what I see. They have a
Yeah,
control room. They have everything in there. Yeah.
Yeah, it looks that way when I see you guys. I was like, man, these guys are living it up, man. This is cool.
Yeah.
is there
It is. Well, go ahead.
is there a way to say that in Korea? High tech, like high technology.
High technology. That would be a tough one. I'd have to put on my thinking cap and think of try to
Hmm.
come up with a word, but I can't think of one right now.
Let's get
Hmm.
Clarence Iron on the phone real quick. Nee, just kidding.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, do you follow fighting at all? UFC?
I did at one point,
Hmm.
but not in a long time.
Okay.
Not in a long time. I watched. I didn't get to see Conor McGregor's last fight where he decimated Cerrone in what
Yeah.
40 some
40
seconds.
seconds. Yeah.
Yeah,
For a cowboy.
yeah.
Yeah.
I don't. Oh, go ahead.
I was just gonna ask because there's a fight coming up this weekend. I was gonna see who you got, if you were gonna watch it or not. But yeah, that's cool.
I think it's Jones, right? John Jones, or no?
Yeah, John
Yeah,
Jones and
I would.
Reyes. Yeah.
I would probably go with John Jones for that one because I'm a fan of his, especially when he was up when he had that rivalry with Cormier. That
Yeah,
was
Daniel
something
Cormier.
about Cormier. So I don't know. I'm not really a McGregor fan. I'm more of a Khabib fan.
Yeah,
I
Habib. Yeah.
enjoy watching that guy. Yeah, Habib or Khabib. I don't know how to Nurmagomedov. I don't know how to say his last name.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
So, man, we have like people all over the world right now who tuned in. I've seen people from Russia, from Germany, from all over United States. Is there anything you want to leave with these people? Some tidbits, some advice, your favorite quote, or anything before we bring this in for a landing?
What can I say? I want to tell you guys all hello, danse is how we
Hmm.
say it. Literally, that means how are you doing? But it's been cut down to just danse, danse logia. How are you?
Hmm.
But it means hello, right? And I want to tell everybody kagwi miuiti to try get along with each other.
Hmm.
And I think if any important lessons I want to share with people, especially from different cultures, is we have no room for judgment based on how we look. And I see that way too much. And it's becoming normalized in this world that we live in. And I know for a fact that I didn't survive what I went through to to come back into a world where people are judged based on how they look.
Hmm.
Mhm.
I don't agree with that at all. I have and I do what I can to fight that to try and change people's minds. You don't know a person's story based on how they look. When I did my last school presentations, I asked those kids there, I said, how many of you, by looking at me, know that I once weighed 98 pounds, that I was on life support, that I nearly died, that I had a stroke? Nobody raised their hand. I said, well, there you go. You could never tell my story.
Hmm.
And that's the same with anybody from any, you see somebody from somewhere else, you don't know their story. So reserve your judgment. So that's essentially the lesson I try to share with people. Try to learn their story. And to learn their story, talk to them, ask them questions, do your research. That goes a long, long, long way towards making this world a better place. And
Mhm.
that's what I want to do. I want to live in a world that's that's good to my nieces and nephews, to my little grandkids. Already I'm a grandfather because of Cree
Hmm.
kinship. And that's the kind of world I want them to live in. In a I know it not a utopia, but a world where there's tolerance and acceptance. That's what I'm hoping for.
Well, beautiful words, brother. I could say, when you were going through your health stuff all over Facebook, it kind of exploded all over, and people were sending Facebook prayers, and
Yeah.
they're everyone had you in our hearts. And I remember at powwows when they were blowing whistles for you. So it's good to see you're
Yeah.
here with us today, and you're doing great things, and you speaking to the communities, and you're doing awesome stuff. So I just want to say thank you from us, Pow Times, for giving us a little bit of your time and sharing a little bit of your story with us and all your good words today.
Yeah. Thank you guys very much. Thank you, Joe. Thank you, Patrick.
Thank you.
I look forward to seeing you guys one day down the road at some conference or at some powwow, but I will see you guys, and we'll go and have a taco or something.
Yeah,
An
sounds
Indian
good.
taco at that.
Yeah, man. Sounds like a good one, man. Mustas.
Aha, mustas.